Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of the Finance SEQFC Preview Show with thanks to Vilic Law. This is part 4 of this week's editions and of course we're talking Gold Coast football. We've got Mark Madge from Football Gold Coast. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon everyone. How are we?
Good. We've got Brett Budwee, coach at Palm Beach Sharks.
Hey guys.
And our special guest this week is Nathan Jones. Nathan is 23 years old, and most 23-year-olds are certainly running amok and doing all sorts of crazy things. This guy coaches a senior football team. Nathan, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Mate, tell us about how you got into taking over this side.
Well, look, it would have started off 2 or 3 years ago. The club changed presidents, and a new fella come in with new ideas, new enthusiasm. Had a 5-year plan to bring a lot of these young fellas, to integrate them into the first team in 5 years' time, as well as bringing myself up. Obviously, it's happened a lot quicker than I think everybody expected, but we're enjoying the ride.
So it commenced 2 years ago, is that right?
Yeah, so started 2 years ago. Took under 15 side, which are the team has all these boys that were in it back then. So under 15, took them as 15s, took them as 16s. It was an interesting project because we changed them from a 4-4-2 long ball side into a possession-based 4-3-3. And that was the plan, was just to develop the players and get them ready for senior football. And obviously when the time was right to integrate them, and obviously the time was right, and here we are.
All right, and so the guys that you're coaching now are guys that you've been with 2 years ago, is that right?
Yeah, so obviously our team is mixed. We do have, I think we probably have on our books, I'd say about 10 senior players, and about 15 to 20 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and the majority of the 16, 17-year-olds are the players that I've had over the last couple of years.
Okay.
And
how old's the oldest player on the team? For our first team, our oldest player would be 31, 32. So we've got a big mix of, age difference. We've got the 16, 17-year-olds. We've got a couple of, mid-20s, and then we've got a couple of the early 30s. So really, it's all spread out. It's not just a team filled with 16-year-olds all over the park. We've got a little bit of experience. We've got a little bit of everything. And how do you go when you have to bench the senior players?
No, it's no dramas whatsoever. Taking up that role, it could be quite daunting, especially at the start of the year when it happened. It could have gone either way. They could have turned around and said, look, because I was playing with them at the start of the year, so they could have just said, they look at me as a player. That's all it is, and take the mickey. But luckily enough, they've all responded very, very well, and anything that I ask of them from a football side, they're more than willing to to take on board and listen, which is all I can ask for.
Brett, you must have a question at this point.
How do you think you'll go against Broadbeach there, Nate? Do you reckon because it is Broadbeach, it's looking that way. We played this in the pre-season, and I think when we played, you scored first against us, to tell you the truth. It was a decent game. So, do you think you'll match up well against the Premier League teams?
Like you were saying last week, there's a big difference between Premier League and Coast League, and obviously Broadbeach will go in as strong favourites. They've got players there that have played Premier League and NPL for a number of years, and we've got players that have made 10 senior appearances. So it's definitely going to be a big battle, a big challenge. But we've done well enough over the year to earn us to play Broadbeach. So it'll be a matter of who turns up on the night, and hopefully it's us.
What's one of the biggest things that you've learned this season about your team or about yourself?
Look, you go into each game. That's a tricky question. I think maybe the biggest thing is that the willingness of the players to respond to what you ask. Obviously, dealing with different players, they're going to respond in different ways. So I think it's just a matter of figuring out exactly what players respond to what and how, including myself as well. So that's what I think has been the big learning curve this year.
For sure. Now, you had a 1-1 draw with Kingscliff on the weekend, so must be thrilled with that result.
Oh, look, we're thrilled with the result. Could have won it. First time we played Kings, obviously Kingscliff undefeated. First time we played them 0-0, and we sat back, absorbed a lot of pressure, and it was probably the turning point of the year, was picking up a point against a team that was top of the league. And this game panned out. We were completely dominant. We limited them to 1/2 chance. We caused them all sorts of problems and went into the break 1-0 up. Second half, they come out firing. But on the balance that a draw was probably a good result or a fair result, but we could have nicked it. The last minute of the game. Ethan, he won the ball out wide and created a very opportunity. And unfortunately, we just couldn't capitalise. But would have been harsh for them to lose it. But overall, it was probably a fair result.
Mark, I might bring you in at this point now as we look at the other two matches played on the weekend.
Yeah.
When we started doing the show, I remember looking at the Coast League ladder, and Madraba were on 0 points.
Yep.
And they've finished in 4th place with a 6-1 win over Pontiac.
Surprisingly, obviously with no Premier League on the weekend, I managed to actually catch some Coast League action. I was actually at the Runaway Bay Kingscliff game, so I can give my 2 cents later on about that. But the other two results, obviously the Friday night game, Mudgee getting the job done with a win there against Bond, and then obviously getting the result to go their way in the Musgrave Pack Pines fixture to see them 4th. I know they picked up a few little players here and there along their travels that just gave them that little bit of extra quality that they needed to get the job done, and they went on a fantastic run. So at the end of the day, from where they were at the start of the season to now, they're going to be high on confidence, and all the rest of it. To even make the top 4 is a fantastic achievement for the club, considering where they've been in the previous years gone by, especially in the Premier League in the years that they've had. To have a bit of sort of for me, if you're looking at Madraba's season, I might be speaking out of turn, but I consider this season a massive win for them. To be in that top half of competition from where you were and battling in finals football compared to being at the bottom of the table in the Premier League for 3 consecutive years, it's a massive, massive difference for the club, and it puts everyone's mentality and direction, I believe, in a different mindset for the coming years. Similar to, I'm going to bring up Palm Beach here with Brett. Obviously, his squad has gone fantastically well this year, better than probably most have expected. Now, next year, the mentality won't be, and I'm pretty sure I'm right here because I've had this discussion with Brett, it's not going to be let's make the 4. It's going to be let's push for these league titles. Whereas 3 years ago, it was let's compete, let's be strong, and let's build on this. So this is probably the start of a change from Madraba that I enjoy. I'll enjoy watching and seeing, in progressive rounds. Obviously, with our Coast League competition changing next year and the dynamics changing, it might, throw a bit of spanner in the works in some areas, might bring in new teams that provide stronger competition than the ones that might have been there this year. Who knows? But overall, fantastic from Madraba. Again, Musgrave getting the result, bouncing back with the win against Pines, and also getting the win heading into finals football. But touching on that Runaway Bay Kingscliff result, I 100% agree. Runaway Bay would, for me, the better side. We've got 3 points. Again, they're quick around the pitch. One thing I do like, and I don't see it because I always watch Premier League, is I've lost. I can't hear you, Darren. Hello?
Yes. All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we're all good?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, one thing I did like by watching the Coast League was, and this is no disrespect to our Premier League or anything, is the much less whinging and arguing on the pitch in Coast League compared to the Premier League. Players were not whinging at referees. Players were not whinging to each other. It was about the game. And it was really refreshing. I even said it to Alan, our 2IC, who's obviously filming as well. I said, it's just refreshing to watch a game where, I don't know, again, the game, obviously the positions in the table couldn't change. So there was a bit of heat taken out of it. But in general, I think, I've watched bottom of the table games where people whinge in Metro. So I think it was just maybe because the youngsters and all the rest of it, it was fantastic to see. And, I'm going to give Nathan a bit of a rap here. What I did see from him, which he probably doesn't even realise and notice because he's obviously just worried about his team, is in-game direction to his players. That's one thing it's so rare to see. There's only a handful of coaches in both the Premier League and Coast League that I've seen pull players over, and the direction that they give them is actually constructive and game-related to fix during the game. That's very rare to see. A handful of Premier League coaches, I'm not going to mention which ones because I don't want to single them out compared to the rest, are good at that, very good at in-game changes. Then you have a lot of coaches that are, come on, boys, let's get up for it. Let's work hard. Let's run and all the rest of it. So, credit to Nathan for being so young and be able to make those changes mid-game. Fantastic to see, and his side responded really well. So, yeah, it was an eye-opening weekend for me, to say the least.
Brett, which one do you think you are?
He knows which one he is. I told him what he is.
Mate, just on that, but I done a coaching course with a bloke named Rob Sherman, who ended up becoming the FFA technical director, and that he's probably the best instructor I ever worked with. And he had a good way of looking. He said that the best coaches are like the best generals in a war. And when the bullets are firing and when the heat's on, they can make the correct changes to win the war or win the game. He said, you can have coaches that are good technically and tactically and all that, but can they make the right decisions when the bullets are firing? So yeah, something I sort of I follow, I try and live by, but I don't always make the right decision.
Well, we'll take the compliment for Nathan anyway.
Yeah.
All right, now let's have a look at the semi-finals this weekend. Madrabar, of course, are taking on Kingscliff. Mark, can Madrabar keep on this golden run, or is this a bridge too far?
I haven't seen them, so I can't comment. I would think Kingscliff are undefeated. They'd have to be in the box seat. 2 games they've played against them, 10-0 and 6-0, I believe. So, you'd think they would. You think they'd be firm favourites. It's a night game, so they don't have to worry about the heat or anything else to play a part. I think Kingscliff would be too strong on the day. But again, I'd expect a much closer game than what their first 2 outings were. It's been not only being finals, but just being the improvement from Madrabar. But the beauty of it is being a knockout semi-final do or die across the Gold Coast this year. If you don't rock up on that day and someone just comes and has the game of their life, they can take anything, they can take that win away from you. I know, Kingscliff obviously suffered a few injuries late in the season, their season-ending injuries to some key players. So they'll have a bit of a reshuffle as well. I think their striker Ryan Zietlow, he's out. He scored majority of their goals this year. But anything's possible. I'd give Kingscliff the edge, though, to get through into the final next week.
And Nathan, how do you like your chances against Musgrave?
Oh, look, we played them twice, and unfortunately we've been on the wrong end of the scoreline both occasions. But in both them games there were lots of positives to take. So there's a lot that we can look to, to give us of progressing into the final. So I believe we're set up well enough, not just to create a competitive game, but to go out and win the game. But like exactly what Mark said, depends who shows up on the day. And the better team will obviously go through.
For sure. All right. We might come back to the Coast League a little bit later, but let's get to the Premier League. And Brett, you got a game this weekend, which you'd say is pretty big, pretty pivotal in how you're going to go this season. You're taking on Burleigh Heads, yeah?
Yeah, mate. I expect a bit of a reaction off Burleigh after the last game against Rabina. after Philo's comments and that, I'm sure they'll be fired up. Nothing's ever easy against Burleigh. They make it hard for you right to the end of the game, no matter what the score is. But I'm full strength this week. So I've got selection decisions to make tonight, and it's a good position to be in going into the last 3 games. Like, I gave the guys the weekend off, so we're all fresh and ready to go.
Right. So the weekend off, what did you do yourself?
Actually, my niece had a birthday recently, so we went into Surface and had a few drinks, and all the rest just relaxed a little bit. Didn't see none of my players out, which was good. I think they were all away on North Stradbroke Island or something. But no, it was good to have a bit of a break from football, even though I think I watched some on Saturday night, so I didn't really have a break. But
great to get refreshed for these last run of games.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, let's have a quick look at the other games this weekend. So Southport are taking on Surfers Paradise.
Look, you'd expect Surfers to get the job done, but Southport did take points off them in the first round, as they, Southport beat Palm Beach and drew with Surfers in the first round as well. So they're taking points off the top 2. Again, being a 3 o'clock kickoff, Surfers has played that kickoff for majority of the year. The heat won't be a factor for them. In that matchup, nor will be for Southport as well, because their home games are always at that same time. With a week off and Surface, coming back into this, I think they'll take a bit of confidence moving into the final rounds, knowing that getting 3 points before Palm Beach have to kick off will give them that bit of not edge, but give them that mentality of going to watch that game or seeing the results come through in hope, obviously, that the result favours them. So I can see them running out victors here. The longer they leave the game without scoring, the better Southport will get. Southport will have chances. I think they've had chances against every single team this year, even if they've had 10 men. So I think maybe the Palm Beach game might have been the only one where they didn't have any clear-cut chances. Obviously going down a man, midway through the half. But, if they keep their discipline, keep their shape, and utilise the areas that they can, with the players that they've got, I'm sure they can definitely, cause a bit of problems if Surface let them cause problems.
All right, Nathan, do you take interest in the Premier League, or are you just so focused on your own team and your own competition?
No, I do take an interest in it, but with obviously games being on a Saturday, sometimes it can be difficult to get down and watch them. But that's the Sunday kickoffs are. You can go down and watch them on a Sunday, keep in the loop and see what's happening.
For sure. All right, Mark, Coomera against Broadbeach.
Obviously with Broadbeach's form this year, but this could be the one that might be a bit of not a slip from Coomera, but I think Steve McDonald made it very clear in his post-match interview and speaking to him after, the performance against Southport wasn't up to their standard. They got the 3 points, which is what they were out for at the end of the day. He'll be hoping for a better performance. I'm pretty confident that we'll see some form of Enrique this week, whether it be off the bench, in the starting lineup. I think the rest time enough has been there. I think he's rested up well for this last remaining push. I could be wrong. I haven't spoken to anyone at Coomera this week or last week about that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him feature. Broadbeach are in a mode now where, if they can get a win this week, then they set themselves up for a massive game against Southport that could determine the league standings. It could determine who ends up playing Runaway Bay in that playoff. So, whether it's desperation mode, whether they can click into that mode, knowing that they still have the second chance with the playoff, who knows? Going to Coomera will be tough though. They're always tough at home. That they're going to be, at the end of the day, the ones that might decide this league title. On the final day against Surface at home as well. So, Coomera obviously the favourites. Broadbeach, if they have a bit of desperation and a bit of sniff, maybe the week off could have helped them and caused some problems. So again, 94th minute winner for Coomera last time these two played. Different conditions at Broadbeach under lights. So going to Coomera would never be easy for any team.
And Nathan, you'll be taking heaps of interest in Broadbeach's results from here on in?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
The Sunday match is Robina up against Nerang.
Must win, I think, for Nerang. especially with obviously Burleigh playing Palm Beach. Robina still sort of hold, considering Burleigh have Palm Beach and Surface, if they get positive results then it's irrelevant. But, if Robina win this week and results go their way, they'll be in the 4 heading into the final 2 weeks, a position they'll be happily take on board, I'm sure. Plus, with Burleigh playing Surface next week, they can also get a jump up and have to go into the Palm Beach game with their 4th spot sealed up, realistically, if they can get those points on the board. That's why I think it's more of a must-win for Nerang than Robina at this stage, just working out. And I've looked at the last 3 games and worked out my anticipation, something that Brett would probably love to hear if it does go to the final day, that it doesn't have a Robina side who have to play for a 4th spot. You'd love to see, as the difference I can see. I'm not putting this out there for anyone. I can see a different mentality from a Coomera playing, if they can't move from 3rd, playing Surface in the final day, than a Robina who's locked in 4th. I think Robina will just, and again, it depends what Robina, as stupid as it sounds, who these teams want to play in the final game, in the finals, with 2 versus 3. Does Coomera go, I'm not saying they're going to do it, I'm not saying they're going to throw a game, but do they rest up some of their key players in the last game? Do Robina go for the win? It's all up in the air. I think being the Gold Coast, though, I don't think anyone's going to think about it. I think everyone will just play their strong teams at every point and let the best team win on the day. So, again, it'll be a fantastic matchup on Sunday. I think Nerang is a must-win. Robina hoping to get into the 4 heading into the final 2 weeks. I'll go with a draw to make it even more interesting come the final couple of weeks. We need to have that congestion for 4th and scenarios happening all around the Gold Coast and my phone going crazy as it always does on a Saturday. So it won't let me. And I think the league title is going to go down to the final day as well. So we have to sit in Nerang and wait for phone calls on Palm Beach and Coomera, because it couldn't be on opposite sides of the world if we tried. So fun times ahead.
And the closer this competition is, the more fascinating it becomes. All right. Now, I just want to give our page a plug before we wrap things up today. We do awards every year, and we've commenced them this week. We've got 2 polls running at the moment. One is for the best home kit, and Broadbeach United, the Gold Coast representatives in that poll. They need your votes, people. Get on the page and give them a vote, because I think Mark was the one who nominated Broadbeach's kit, and having a look at it, it does look pretty schmick and well worth of your support. The other poll that we have is for the best bar, and Burleigh Heads were nominated as having the best facilities on the Gold Coast. There's only about 13 votes for them at the moment. So if you're supporting Burleigh, get on board, get them up there. All right. Next week, we've got best canteen and the best away kit, and also the best Coast League player. Cool. So I've been spending my time this week chasing up nominations from the clubs as to who's been the best players in those leagues. So, Nathan, I haven't asked you yet, but we will come to that once we finish today's show. Now, Brett, do you have any advice for Nathan?
As far as the playoff games, you mean, Darren? Playoff
games, coaching in general. You've got all these years of experience. You've got a guy who's starting out.
Look, I think, and I think I spoke to Nathan about this before, is that the preparation for your opposition is paramount, especially if he's coming up against like a Premier League team who are going to be playing a higher intensity week in, week out. You have to do your homework on the opposition. I've got a black book that goes back many years on all the teams and all the coaches, sort of thing. But preparation and just having the boys up for it, which I'm sure Nathan will. They're a group of young lads, like he said, so they'll have no fear at all. But he's doing a great job out there, and it's good to see young coaches getting involved in senior football.
Definitely. All right, we might leave it there. Thank you very much for your participation this afternoon, gentlemen. And Nathan, best of luck in the semi-finals this weekend.
Thank you very much.
And if you, we might even have you back on the show when it comes time for that playoff game as well. That should be very tasty.
I'm in. I'll be waiting for the call.
All right. All right. Mark Madge from Football Gold Coast, Nathan Jones from Runaway Bay, and Brett Budwee from Palm Beach. Thank you for your time. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.